welcome Dr. T.V. Mohandas Pai today on the webinar, and it is really a pleasure for us to have him here talking to our students and all those who are participating in this webinar. Over the last 3-4 months of the pandemic, it's been an attempt of the iHub to keep the students engaged, and especially in the startup ecosystem, to bring together people from the startup ecosystem to the student community and have an interaction, have a very fruitful interaction, useful interaction, so that a peer-to-peer learning, learning from mentors, and learning from experts is possible. And as a part of that, we had started 100 webinar series, and plus along with that, an eminent expert series. So as a part of the eminent expert series, today we have Shri T.V. Mohandas Pai with us. And everybody knows your name, so I need not elaborate a lot on your introduction, and Hiran has already given it in detail. But then, yes, your achievement to the entire startup sector and to the education sector in general has been really, really very significant. As a part of the iHub activities, we, for the last 3 years, as a part of this Student and Innovation Policy, we have been trying to bring the innovation and startup culture into our education institution. And we have been largely successful in this, as across the length and breadth of Gujarat now, students know what is a startup, what is innovation, and some learning which was totally based on examination and curriculum is now shifting towards a lot of job creation and innovation. We have, in the last 3 years, filed something like 600 patents, and more than 600 startups have also come up. This is an ongoing process. Through iHub, we are handholding a lot of these startups through mentoring processes, through a lot of capacity building, and we have a large number of flagship programs. Through these flagship programs, we have been trying to make this entire ecosystem very live. And our startups have been helping the district administration, the state in general, and in society in general during this pandemic period, having come up with various innovative ideas, from tracking systems to masks to face covers to sanitizers, and what have you, all kind of innovative things they have come up with. Here, as a part of SSIP, we support them for their prototype building, because I don't know whether you are aware, but in Gujarat, we have 3 startups, 3 different areas, we have 3 startup policies. So our policy is basically for students. And in the student, we operate at the pre-incubation stage, where we give them support while they are still as a student in developing, converting an idea into a prototype. After that idea has been converted into a prototype, then it is taken over by the concerned departments through their startup policies for manufacturing, or if it is an IT sector, then by the Science and Technology Department, where they give market access and other support to them, and manufacturing support, and these kind of support are given. So in a nutshell, we are providing a pipeline to the startup ecosystem, to the incubation ecosystem, through the pre-incubation ecosystem. And that makes this entire policy very unique in the country, because it is primarily focused at building up the pipeline. And we also, as a part of that, are focusing a lot on the IPRs, because we noticed very early that because the students fear that their idea may be stolen. So to provide a kind of not only a support, but an assurance to the students that you remain the owner of your idea. An idea without execution is an egg without fertilization. It cannot come up really in the world. So that's what we've been trying to really bring up to the students, that the ideas have to be executed, to be given shape. And for that, they need mentoring, they need team building, they need execution support systems, and commercial support systems, and marketing support systems, and legal support systems, and corporate affairs support systems, and all that we've been trying to provide to the IITs. So it's indeed a matter of pleasure for us to welcome you here. And I won't speak much. People have gathered today to hear you, not to hear me. So I won't come between you and the audience. Mr. Nagarajan will be taking the session here with you. I think first you will address, and then he will take up a few questions from the audience, and they'll take the discussion ahead. And on my side, I really thank you once again that you have joined us to encourage, to motivate, to guide, and to mentor our participants here. And we'll be indebted. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam, for joining today. And now we'll make this session live for everybody. And we have few questions, Mohan, which we pulled from participants beforehand. And then we'll take some questions from public also. So, Kshitij, should we start the conversation to start with?
Sure. So I'll go first with the first few questions.
Yeah.
Great. So thank you, Hiranmay. Mr. Pai, I think, I've been a product of Gujarat. I spent a good part of the last decade in the valley, went there for my master's. When I was a student, I'm trying to think back, if I had a chance to interact with you, what kind of questions I would ask. So, Mr. Pai, one of the first questions that comes to mind is we are often, taught from our environment, directly or indirectly, that the choice of our specialization, chemical engineering, computer science, biology, mechanical, will often determine or influence the level of our professional success, law, commerce, arts, and so on and so forth, right? How relevant do you think that still is, considering COVID, considering that, a lot of change in the world, globalization has changed the world in a significant way? Is specialization still an important choice in terms of determining professional success?
Well, I would say that for every young student, the most important asset they should develop in school and college is a problem-solving attitude. They should have keen curiosity to know what happens in real life, to why nature behaves in a particular manner, why do things happen the way it is, a questioning mind to look at natural phenomena and understand much better, and a problem-solving attitude which says that if I look at a problem somewhere, how do I solve it? I solve it by analyzing the problem, looking at data, and using the data to come out with a solution, testing the solution, and doing what I think is right. So that curiosity and that problem-solving attitude is very, very important. Second, that curiosity and the problem-solving attitude could lead you to interest in certain areas. For example, you could take a keen area in science because you like it, you love it. You could take a keen area in making money because you like making money. You could take a keen area in music, you may like it. You can take a keen area in sports, any field of activity, mechanical engineering, whatever it is. And then when you do that, you get a deep dive into all that and understand what to do. And the next thing is, you must learn some operating system. For every young person today, you must learn some coding. Why is that? We are now in the knowledge economy and the digital world. In the knowledge economy, in the digital world, the operating system is learning coding, a coding language or understanding software. Because like in life, English is the operating language for business, right? If you know English, you can work in any part of the world. But in technology and this knowledge world, coding is the natural language. So you must learn some coding. So by looking at keeping a keen mind, keeping an inquiring mind, being curious, having a problem-solving attitude, which takes time to develop. And on top of that, you do something which excites you, which you believe you enjoy doing because you have to follow your dream. Everybody should have a dream. And then learning some skills like coding will help you succeed in life wherever you work. I've seen people who are chemical engineers who have become very good designers. We have seen people who are mechanical engineers who are very good coders. For example, in Infosys, out of 100 people, only 10 were from computer science. The rest came from naval architecture, civil engineering, mechanical, everywhere. And we taught them the skills, but they applied the skills to the areas of their expertise. For example, a mechanical engineer, aeronautical engineer could help design aircraft wings, test the undercarriage of an aircraft. So they all develop skills like that. So this is what I would say.
Great, fantastic. Mr. Pai, one more question, as a student, I think more often than not, our parents and of course, our first degree environment have a very influential role to play in the first job that I do after graduation, or the first step that I take. More often than not, there is a lot of inherent friction in taking a job with a startup. More friction, to in fact start a new company right out of graduation, right? What is your advice for some students who are going through this, or have this burden to go through, to convince a lot of people to embark on their dreams?
Well, first of all, I would urge every student to have a dream. Everybody should have a dream. What do you want to become? What do you want to do in life? And the dream can change over a period of time, because you don't know the wide world. You don't know what interests you, but you'll have a dream and follow the dream and do what it is to make you happy. Yes, parents do have an influence, because the parents take care of you. They are interested in you, and sometimes they tell you, why don't you do commerce, why don't you do engineering, why don't you do medicine, etc. Because they do feel that there's an area where you could succeed. They want to make sure that you have great careers. Plus, many of us listen to our parents, and we don't fight our parents. That's perfectly fine. And if you listen to your parent and go do a particular course and you find that you're not good at it, maybe you just complete the course, and later, after you finish the course, go for a master's course in an area of your choice. But remember, whatever course you do, the fundamentals that you must have is to have curiosity, a problem-solving attitude, and understanding how the real world works. Because these are skills which will last you across whatever you do. And then after all that, you want to have a startup, try it out. Now, there are many people who have to go to work because they have to support their family. I think it's important that they have to support their family, so the economic circumstances are there. But there are very many people today who don't have to support their families. They can take a risk. So take a risk. Because, if you go to a startup, have your own startup, you will not be earning much money. You're spending money. So you'll be cautious about spending money. But if you work in a startup, you'll get a decent salary. And I think that's perfectly fine. So take the risk early in your career. Because if you're 30, 35, you don't have some savings, you take a risk. Is much more difficult than taking a risk when is very, very young. And if you take a risk, it doesn't succeed, is fine. Because the learning that you get out of not succeeding is much greater than learning that you get out of succeeding. Because when you succeed, you don't know what doesn't work. You wander into some area, it succeeded, did well, that's fine. So take it in your stride. Remember, the first 5 years after you finish your education, you're going to work, is learning. It is learning, it's the further learning. You did theory in college, you met with people, you honed your skills. Then in real life, you are learning. And after that first 5 years, you know exactly what you want to do, where to do, you know how society works. And then you'll be much more successful. So in those 5 years, dedicate your time to learning, learn, specialize, understand more and more. So that at the end of it, you become a whole human being who is very, very good and who can succeed anywhere.
Right. Hiranmay, back to you.
Wonderful. So I think what you mentioned, Mohan, is we can see in Gujarat ecosystem. 5 years before, when Nagarajan sir was a field officer in the early part of his bureaucracy, and I was handling this innovation thing, we went to colleges and university, and we used to ask people, would you like to be a job provider? At that time, there used to be 5 to 10% people. But today, when we look at universities, as I mentioned while we are talking informally before the session, we see more than 100 startups coming from universities before graduation. And that's remarkable. In fact, Mohan, what we did last year, we issued a university circular through education department. And from last year, the universities in Gujarat are giving startup gold medals. You know what that is? This is not for medals for scoring 10 by 10 in exam. This is for creating an enterprise from your idea and creating 1 or 2 direct and indirect job and create at least ₹1 million revenue before you take your convocation degree. And the first gold medal was given away by none other than the Home Minister of the country, Amit Shah ji. And the boy who got this medal was a 21-year-old boy, having 25 employees now, $1 million revenue, yet to graduate. So this is a new change that we are seeing. And those stories are getting magnified. Those stories are getting unfolded. And having people like you and talking it openly that, no bad if you don't score in exam, but if you can score well in life's exam, That's quite fabulous. That's quite important. Nagarjan sir, over to you.
Sir, it's indeed a great pleasure to have you here, and I really want to milk a lot of ideas from you today.
Okay.
Especially being a bureaucrat, I am faced with a lot of policy issues where I need to make a choice in how government policy can enable and startup ecosystem. So my area of concern is going to be floating around key stakeholders, engaging them, and creating and building a better and very vibrant ecosystem, as our principal secretary has also mentioned. So during your Infosys days, you worked closely with government stakeholders, and that a lot of conversion activities took place that really put Bangalore in the IT map of India, and then as a sort of Silicon Valley of India. So I am sure that a lot of background work and deep root thinking would have taken place in that. I want you to please suggest us about what are the lessons that we could borrow from you, from your experience in building the Bangalore ecosystem.
Well, I think the first thing we did in Bangalore in 1997 was to draft India's first IT policy. I remember going to Minister Deshpande and telling him, sir, we need an IT policy. He asked me, Mohan, what is this IT? What is this policy? I don't know anything about it. I told him, sir, we will draft it. So we drafted it, and it had a chapter for industry, it had a chapter for education, it had a chapter for infrastructure, for ecosystem and everything else. It's a nice policy, the first time in India. Then he said, we need an IT secretary. He said, why do you want an IT secretary? Because they need focus. And then we told him, sir, you announced by 2020, Bangalore will have 5,000 crores of exports. That is 5,000 by 2,000. He said, how much are you doing now in 1997? He said, 1,500. He said, are you sure you're going to reach? Yes, sir, we'll do it. Don't worry. And he went and got the policy done. He went to Chief Minister. The Chief Minister was J.H. Patel. He said, look, I don't know anything about it. He told them, if you want to do it, you do it. They announced it. And by 2020, we reached 5,000 crores, where the industry is going very fast. So what are the components? We set up the Indian Institute of Information Technology in Bangalore. All right. And then we had an annual event called IT.com because we wanted to create a brand. And then we went to a few university engineering colleges and we set up many things. So my experience of doing it for the last 20 years says that for a state like Gujarat, you really need to accelerate, do things much faster and do things in a much bigger way. So here's my suggestion for you. First of all, I think you must have 4 or 5 institutions which will lead Gujarat in innovation. So maybe pick up the 10 big cities of Gujarat. I think Gujarat has got maybe 15 good cities. Pick up the 2 or 3 engineering colleges. Give them 1 or 2 crores each to set up a lab in AI, in machine learning, in 3D printing, in IoT, etc. So there'll be some kind of a training, etc. Do that in the first way. So you have multiple engines of growth all over Gujarat because it has to be extremely widespread. The second thing is have a contest. Every 3 months, 4 months, do a hackathon. Do a hackathon so that more and more people come form teams. So people must know how to work, how to identify problems, etc. Hackathons are very good. I'm sure you're doing it. Do it in a much bigger way. And then what you do in high-up of giving grants. In all the engineering colleges, all the colleges have contests where the winners, 1, 2, 3 will get 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs just as a grant. So they get used to handling money. They get used to doing many things in a very, very big way. And the next thing you must do is to have a seed fund. To have a seed fund. Why seed fund? Because, a seed capital is required. If you get 50, 60 companies which come up as startups, maybe 10 will qualify for a seed capital. For that, talk to SIDBI or some other institution, put money, they will also put money, and they'll give seed capital. And the seed capital should be given quite liberally to say, anybody who wants capital in Gujarat, we will give 30% up to, let's say, 2 crores, and the balance money you raise from others. So if you give the first 30%, they'll be able to raise the money. So there's a multiple of 3 times, 4 times for the money that you give. So that will create an ecosystem. And then after that, very importantly, invite many, many funds to come to Gujarat and to start investing in many of the companies in Gujarat. So have every quarter an event. Kshitij knows how to do that, where you call them and come and say, if you fund a startup in Gujarat, we will give maybe up to 3 to 5 crores equity, will participate not more than 20%. So you're creating a system of innovation where companies can rise up to Series A. After Series A, they can go on their own. And the next is, every year when you have a Gujarat Day or something like that, honor 4 or 5 good entrepreneurs who have come up from the bottom. Because, you made a very important point. When you went 5 years ago, only 10%, now more. Why is that? Because in the media, they're all heroes. Who are our heroes? A Sachin Bansal, or a, somebody else, Bhavesh, or a, Vijay Shekhar Sharma, or a Baiju, they all become heroes, right? So every young person identified with the younger people who become heroes, they want to be like them. So they got an interest. They say, that person has become big. Why can't we also become big? I think it's very important to do that. Next, I would say, talk to people like Your Story, talk to people like, Ink 42 in Delhi, and ask them to publicize what you do in Gujarat. Every month, there should be articles, there should be write-ups about all the startups in Gujarat, so the whole country knows what is happening, how things are happening, everything else. Do that. And then next, every quarter, hold a high-quality technical event, a 2-day symposium or a seminar. For example, one quarter, you can have it on artificial intelligence. Get the best people from all over India to come spend 2 days in Ahmedabad or anywhere, or Baroda, where they can have a big conference. Then do it on IoT, do it on 3D printing, all right, do it on machine learning, or do it on some research. So every quarter you do that, so there are many more events to come. By doing that, you have to create a buzz. And the buzz is that, Gujarat is going forward on this, Gujarat is training people, Gujarat is doing many things, and it's very exciting. Many companies are coming up, etc. And the buzz will attract and create an ecosystem. So you're building a broad base, you're building the next layer, and you're building the top layer. And very soon, in 4 or 5 years, if you get a unicorn, you would have succeeded. And that unicorn will lead to many more things coming. And I think it's very, very important. In fact, one of the things you must do is to get the big IT companies into the city. I tried to do that when Prime Minister Modi was Chief Minister. I came there, he had called me, I went there and saw. But sadly, the ILFS fellows put up their price. Okay, I want to say it public. They asked us to pay 1,000 rupees per FSI. We told them, give us 50 acres of land at a reasonable price. Then we will create employment for 10,000 people. Then he said, get TCS here, give them 50 acres, they'll create 10,000. If you have 20,000 people there, working there, half of them will stay there, the gift city will boom. Yes, it is meant for, for financial institutions, but you need to get more and more people there. And if you have produced 20,000 IT jobs, 1,000 people would have left and started their own enterprise. Bangalore succeeded because you got a very large number of people. Let me give some data about Bangalore so that you people can see how to come up and do well. Bangalore has got about 35,000 IT companies, 7,000 startups, 20 lakh people are employed. 20 lakh people are employed in Bangalore. We have overtaken Silicon Valley as having the largest number of people. Last year, we did about $60 billion of software exports. There are 400 labs of multinationals. Bangalore gets about 1,000 companies, startups coming up every year. And Bangalore gets investment of $3.5–4 billion every single year. $3.5–4 billion. There are 150 funds operating in Bangalore. So Bangalore's got a very wide ecosystem. We got the Triple IT in Bangalore, we got the IIC, we got engineering colleges. So we created the knowledge infrastructure, we created the universities, and the government of Karnataka has got the Elevate program whereby they give 50 lakh rupees as grants to the top 100 companies. And of course, seed funds come from everywhere. And then we created an angel network. A lot of angels, I'm sure in Gujarat, a lot of people who got money who can invest in angels. So create an angel network and create a fund mechanism by attracting them, creating your own funds. By doing all this in 5 years' time, you must aim to have at least 5,000 startups in Gujarat. And out of 5,000 startups, you must create at least about maybe 5 lakh jobs. 5 lakh jobs in the state of Gujarat, which is not very difficult. And you must be ready to spend 1,000 crores for the next 5 years for all these purposes. And once you're able to do all this, then it will take off by itself.
Wonderful. I think you gave us the entire chemical formula.
No, it will work now because, the system has become very mature. There's a lot of capacity. I worked with Vasundhara Raje in Rajasthan, and you'll be very surprised. In a second term, in 3.5 years, she was recognized as the best IT chief minister of India, beating Karnataka, beating Chandrababu Naidu. And she was very surprised. I told her, Madam, it's wonderful. You have become the chief IT minister. Our IT secretary was reckoned to be the best IT secretary in India for many years. They created 8,000 jobs in the government. They had the best apps, best technology. They did tremendously. They built up a data center and they became the best digital state. Rajasthan became the best digital state, your neighbor. Why? Because you had a chief minister there who was very interested. She listened to people. She had all of us coming there. They created a 2,000 acre Mahindra city because we told them, get Mahindra as somebody to run the city because you can't market, you won't run around. What you can do is give land. So call the Mahindra World City people and give them 1,000 acres, tell them set up an IT park. See, ILFS failed. That's what set you back. ILFS should have done better. They were all trying to be real estate operators, which didn't work. If you get somebody like a Mahindra, who has done a very good job in Chennai, opposite Chennai in Chengalpattu, Mahindra city, where Infosys has got about 20,000 people, and you create jobs and people who can do all that, you will create that entire ecosystem in Gujarat, because Gujarat has got the best industrial infrastructure in India, best industrial infrastructure. And all this industrial infrastructure will go in for robotics. They're all going for robotics, they're going in for automation, they're going in for apps. And so that will create a huge demand for technical people. And from that, many entrepreneurs will come. So my suggestion to you, sir, is please think big. Don't think small. In 5 years' time, you must be among the top 5 states in India. But remember, other states are also going ahead. They got a great 10, 15 years advantage over you. So you got to go at a faster pace than them, think big and do faster. And the future lies in innovation. After this COVID, everybody is going to automate. Everybody is going to go digital, right? And everybody is looking at innovation. The whole world has changed. Habits have changed for everybody. Many things will be done through apps. The world has changed. And the right time for you to take advantage and build on top of that. You have done a lot, but I'm sure you should do much, much more. You must do 100x what you're doing in 5 years.
Wonderful, sir. I mean, you are also giving us where to hit and how to hit. That's the beauty you are, and you are really a good coach because you have already played well. And I think that's people many often say that if you're a good player, you can certainly guide people. And you have done this. You have demonstrated this as an corporate person.
And Hiranmay, Gujarat has given us a wonderful prime minister. He's thinking so big. When you are given as a prime minister which is thinking so big, Gujarat not be behind. Gujarat must think bigger. Correct?
Wonderful, yes, sir. In fact, you raised our expectation to a next level, and that's what was important for us. In fact, today, everybody who are listening to you,
your voice is struck.
1,000 people who think small. That's Dr. Kalam was telling that everybody should think big, and you have demonstrated those abilities. So I will just quickly tend to put one question. You have articulated this big vision of India 2030, and we have seen your talk, we have listened to that. How do you see India 2030 in the entrepreneurship perspective, in the startups perspective?
Well, I think we are right now the 3rd largest startup hub. To give you some data, we got 45,000 startups who have created $160 billion of value. We got 32 unicorns, and by 2025, we'll have 100,000 startups creating 100 unicorns, creating $500 billion of value, right? So it's going to happen. It's happening. It'll happen. It'll be much, much bigger because now it's going to accelerate all over. So I think the next 5 years are going to be very, very exciting. And we think that by 2030, 2031, India will be a $10 trillion economy. It'll be a $10 trillion economy. We were 3 trillion on 31st of March 2020. This year is going to be a bad year. We're going to degrow by 5%. But by 2026, we could be 5 trillion. Another 5 years after that, we could be 10 trillion. Now we're going to triple GDP in 10 years. All right. And this year is going to be exciting. And the tripling of GDP is going to be driven by technology because there's going to be increase in consumption, but technology will reduce costs, will create great opportunities. So we are going to see in 10 years what we have not seen in the last 70 years. But the most exciting period for India is going to be the next 10 years. And for all the students who are listening here, I want to say your life is going to be much, much more exciting than what we did. I joined Infosys in 1994. We were $5 million. Okay, only $5 million. The whole IT industry was worth, exports of maybe $100 million. All right. And this year, IT exports have gone to 150 billion. There were only some 25,000 people in IT. Today, we got 45 lakh people in IT. Look at the growth. Now, imagine all that was done in 20 years. And now from maybe 25 years, all that we can do 3 times that in the next 10 years. So the whole world is at your feet and technology costs have come down. The only thing that limit will be your imagination and your energy.
Wonderful. In fact, the roadmap that you shared, every time you talk, it gives us a new benchmark, and you rightly mentioned the students and the youth in the next 10 years are going to have a very exciting times. And this is what Nandan also says, that how do we leverage this demographic, because we have those assets. So for example, when we started this policy, we have 1.4 million students graduating every year from Gujarat. And we had a very single benchmark. Can we see 1% of them become at least job provider than becoming a job seeker? And that was a very, very small kind of intervention that we did. And today we see around 500 plus teams coming up with business plans. Before they graduate, we fund few of them, they convert few of them. And you rightly mentioned, this thing will not be linear. It might be exponential. It might be cascading. And
Even May, you must have 50,000 young people coming out with business plans.
Wonderful,
That's why
sir.
you must have all your institutions doing it. Call all your universities and tell them everyone should double, triple every year. Because you see, you need a large movement. Out of that, the best will come to the top. And for every one of the students, the learning experience. Writing a business plan is a learning experience, because what do you do in life, you're problem solving. So I think it must be a large scale exercise, must be done all through your universities, all through your colleges, and they must get excited. So I think you should have a mass movement for them to do, because very simple, it's nothing difficult. And I'm sure they're all imaginative. Young people are always imaginative. We should do it on a very, very large way. And then you must focus on your young girls. Have a special program for young girls. We need more women entrepreneurs. And let me tell you, Narendra Modi told me when I used to go there when your chief minister to come to Ahmedabad, meet him and do a lot of ideas and everything he made. He told me one day, "Arey bhaiya, hum Gujarati sab entrepreneurs hai." I told him, "You want us to come to Gujarat, but how many? You don't have any engineers. You only have some 10,000, 15,000 engineers graduating. We hire 20,000 engineers here. What you want us to get from the south?" He said, "We are all entrepreneurs. We are all business people." So the Gujaratis have got something special there, and that is an entrepreneurial spirit. Now you got to marry that entrepreneurial business spirit with technology, and that will be a fantastic combination. Technology with entrepreneurship. For example, in Bangalore, everybody is a techie, and they're all very good in engineering. Kshitij knows that. They're great in coding, they're great in engineering, right? In Delhi, you get many more B2C companies because they're outgoing and they're competitive. North Indian is more competitive than people in South and in Bangalore, right? Mr. Nagarajan will probably know that. So you have great engineering in the South, very good, in Chennai, in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and you got these B2C companies in Delhi who try to raise money like Paytm and all. They raise billions of dollars and blow it up. They spend a lot of money. So it's a different culture. So you got your strengths. Gujarat has got tremendous amount of strength. This entrepreneurial spirit is not easily built. It's very difficult. I mean, we know in the South, right? It's very difficult, but you got it in plenty. What you have to do is marry technology with it. So you must have a big technology dissemination program. And that's why I would urge Mr. Nagarajan to tell the CM to give you 1,000 crores a year. 1,000 crores a year for the next 5 years, and you'll create magic in Gujarat.
Wonderful, sir. I think, sir, you are really setting the bar higher, adding 2 zeros in everything that we are thinking.
Yeah.
And sir, I think broadly, sir, we are in the same direction. Only thing is that X is not as enough as you would like it to be. I am sure that is providing that aspirational thing for us. Here, sir, the challenge for us is to have, there is a demand and supply mismatch in the talent. So we need to involve the academic stakeholders and potentially solve this talent mismatch. And a lot of the people who are attending this webinar are college professors, mentors, and change makers who are associated with us under Student Startup and Innovation Policy, and also the student. So academic ecosystem, how can it supplement in bridging the talent gap?
You see, for the academic ecosystem it's very important for every engineering colleges you have in Gujarat. You got about 100 engineering colleges in Gujarat?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you have 100 engineering colleges, every year maybe 40,000 students are getting admission, right? Maybe 40,000, maybe 30,000, right? Now call all those engineering colleges and tell them that, we will get you good people to teach tech to you and start program. Because today you can talk to Kshitij. There are many edtech companies which is teaching technology, which is teaching coding, etc. Everything is available. Call all of them and associate them with all the universities and get the best people to talk to your faculty and create these labs, create some specialization. So next 1 year, you build capacity in all the 100 institutions in 2 or 3 areas. And I'm sure if you leverage that year after year, you'll see a dramatic improvement. Because today, learning software is very easy. It is not difficult. What Kshitij? I mean, Kshitij knows about this. He writes code even now. It's not very difficult. Young people will do it. It's a matter of learning for 2 or 3 months. It's not like earlier, 10 years back, it was very difficult because the building blocks are not there. Now all the building blocks are there. Every kid is doing. For example, Kshitij's fund, 314, just invested in a company called Mitro. Mitro has got 17 million downloads. They invested 3 weeks back, and just 2 days ago, Government of India banned some 59 apps, right? Suddenly the downloads have gone up to 17 million. Just shut up. Just fortunate. But they created that app. So the TikTok is nothing great. These are 2 young kids who, am I right, Kshitij? And they created this app and they're doing very well. Like that, there are hundreds of people. How does it come? Because, today what happens, the brightest young people come to Bangalore. Why can't they come to Ahmedabad? Why can't the brightest in Gujarat come together? So you have to spread the net wide. You got all these engineering colleges. You got these BSc colleges. Talk to them, get them all together. That's why I said you must create this high quality education programs in artificial intelligence, get the best speakers, show them IoT, create labs in 3D printing. By 3D printing, you can print anything today. You can print a human skull. You can print a blood vessel. You can print parts of your liver. You can print, trying to print brains. It won't take some time though. They're printing bones, they're printing clothes, chocolate, everything, right? Now you invest and give them the money to create labs so people can come and tinker and use all that. The big issue is, Mr. Nagarajan, you got to think scale. If you don't do scale and create the broad foundation, it's not going to work. It's going to take you 20 years and that's too late because everybody would have come up. So you need to think big, build a very broad base. On top of that, excellence will keep coming up and bubble up and the top 1,000, 2,000 will do it. So I don't think it's very difficult.
Absolutely, sir. Building this knowledge about Industry 4.0, the broad spectrum of technologies that is touching every part of our life. I think it should touch every part of academics, as you say. And even
Nagarajan, you got a fantastic industrial infrastructure.
Yes, sir.
You got very high-tech industries in manufacturing. They're all using robotics. They're all using that. Get those people in all those industries using advanced manufacturing. Make them mentors. Attach them to engineering colleges. Take your students to this factory. Show them how robotic-based manufacturing is happening all over. They will understand and ask them to come and improve the curriculum and train up some of your faculty, interact with them. If you're able to create that network where industry, see, we don't have so many big industries in Bangalore. You know that, no? You're much better. Yes. We got high-tech industries, yes. But you got some of the biggest industries.
Yes,
you're able to do all that. For example, you got the pharma industry. Pharma industry is very big in Ahmedabad. Pharma industry does biotechnology research, so much of biotechnology research. Why can't you create a biotech cluster? Yes. Bangalore has got something like CCAM. CCAM, you can get CCAM done by DST to Ahmedabad and have a CCAM there. There is so much of innovation coming from government institutions. Get all of them, collect them. Now you got your own prime minister. Nobody can refuse. If you go and say, we are from Gujarat, you come here, who can say no to you? If they don't come, go to the home minister. He'll make sure he'll call them. You can use your influence. So you're very powerful. Get all the best India has to offer in Gujarat and you'll do very well. You should do it. You should be aggressive.
Yes, sir. I think we should knock all the doors for development. We should not leave any stone unturned. On these things, when you are talking about engaging with the industries, I would like to, get some ideas and pick your brain on how do we connect? What could be the mechanisms where we can strengthen the academia and industry linkage and make it embedded in the system? It shouldn't be like two things. It should be two sides of the same coin. How do we do that?
See, the way to do that to my mind is very simple. Pick up the top 200 industries in Gujarat in various areas. You have the list, correct? Find out where they're located, in which district they're located. Call the CEOs with the chief minister and request them, look, you are in this district. There are so many engineering colleges here. We want you to sign a MOU with the engineering college. And we want your technical people to go there, lecture there, spend 1 hour a week, 1 hour a month there. Sign a MOU, sit on the boards, allow the students to come and do internship, allow them to come to your factory and talk to them and, work with them. And we will give money to these colleges to set up the labs and send your technical people to work with them for the labs. Do that. Because I'm sure, see, industry wants to collaborate. The problem is academia has got nothing to give industry. Why should I go? See, I've been in higher education for the last 20 years. Every time I go, they tell me, oh, why is there no academic collaboration? I ask them, what is it you can offer me? Nothing. You are no research, you are no R&D, you are no knowledge. What will you offer me? Why should we come? So you got to force the issue by telling them you have a commitment to develop the system. And if you do that, then they take an interest and they will slowly start operating, they'll slowly start working, and it will take off. Out of maybe 100 in engineering college, 25 will really work. If 25 work, that is fantastic. Then there'll be peer pressure, because when the industry collaboration takes place with engineering colleges, more recruitment takes place. If more recruitment takes place, the fees goes up. If the fees goes up, more students come. It's a natural selection, right? So there's a competitive pressure. Do that. So I think, you are very lucky. You got so many of these institutions. Connect them. I'm sure it will work. And you got to talk to Reliance. I mean, Jio has got the best incubation network. Your chief minister should talk to Mukesh Ambani and tell him, we want the Jio incubation hub in Gujarat. The largest investment Mukesh Ambani is made in Gujarat. Tell him we want the Jio education hub here and create a innovation hub. And you go to Navi Bombay and see their hub. They've done a great job. Ask them to come. I'm sure Mukesh Ambani will help you. Everybody will help you. Who will say no to you? You
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, sir. When we are always confident that we have some good legacy and we are getting some lot of leverage everywhere, and probably now we feel very so severely underutilized. I think we should reorient our strategies on this.
For that, Mr. Nagarajan, I would suggest develop a big vision, 2025, 2026 vision, big vision. Okay,
yes,
like I said, 5,000 startups should come up.
Yes, sir.
You should have 10 unicorns.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you should have 10 unicorns. You should have 100 labs. You should have 5 lakh people working in all the startup. Big unicorn. I know it's very difficult. Okay, if people will laugh at you and say, "Oh my God, how can you do this?" Then you tell the chief minister, "I'll do all this. Give me 1,000 crores." Now you try your best. If you succeed, fantastic. You become the hero. If you don't succeed, I'll transfer you somewhere else. It's okay, but you've done your best. No, you have succeeded much more, and you've done much more than what you are doing right now.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And sir, through this webinar, we have been seeding such thoughts. I am glad that you are seeding a lot of things in me, but we are also hoping that this trickle-down effect will seed the thoughts into the student who is sitting in some corner of Gujarat and hearing us on Facebook.
But Mr. Nagarajan, Rokda Devuche, Rokda Gyuche. What is that, Kshitij? Give some Rokda to all the young students. They'll make magic.
Sir, absolutely, sir. We are in a very massive funding spree. Jinka bhi idea hai, anybody has good idea, from 2 lakh rupees we are easily giving, and we are in a very, very experimental mode. So, sir, on this thing, when we are talking about higher institutions and especially international universities, they talk about alumni relations and all that. And we also have alumni relations, especially in certain good institutions. They are very vibrant, but we are still yet to establish into a very proper, sir, synergistic network. How do we convert that existing network into a synergistic network for innovation and startups?
See, Mr. Nagarajan, you must get 10 champions to come and work from Gujarat. Okay? Now, 10 champions, 10 Gujaratis who have got an emotional attachment to Gujarat who are outside in the United States. For example, Carl Mehta is there. Kshitij and my son worked with Carl Mehta. Carl is a great entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. He's very passionate about Gujarat. He comes there often. He meets the Prime Minister and he wants to do something, right, Kshitij? He's associated with some institute in Gujarat, right? Yeah. Call people like that, and Kshitij can work with you to identify 10 people who are got an affiliation in Gujarat. Call all of them, form a Gujarat Technology Mentors Group. All right? And ask them, you can have Zoom calls now, they don't have to travel. And you can tell them, look, why don't you work with these few universities, work with these few groups, and this is what we want to do, and make them heroes. Let them come and talk to students, let them spend some time, and slowly through the network, it will happen. Because you need good mentors. See, you have to play on the emotional connect. Let me tell you, every successful entrepreneur who's a Gujarati wants to give back to Gujarat. Okay?
Yes.
All of us want to give back. Everybody wants to give back. And they want to give back to the state of origin because they're very nostalgic.
Yes,
okay? And they will always spend time. So you must connect them. The problem is you people don't know how to connect. And you must continue the connection. You must have a special group of people who will talk to them every week, send them an email, help them, connect them, and make sure it works. Because if you don't have a group of people and a secretariat which can do that, it will not work. For example, in Karnataka, we told the government to have something called Invest Karnataka. Invest Karnataka is the Economic Development Board of Singapore. Economic Development Board of Singapore developed Singapore. It is a semi-private enterprise, public-private partnership with a private sector CEO who is charged with innovation. And you give him some funding and ask him to do all this, he'll do it. Because for you, Mr. Nagarajan, as an IAS officer, many things are difficult.
Yes.
You have to get approval, and we know how government works. Then the government is there. So have a separate organization where you give grants and get the private sector, get a good CEO and make them work. They will do everything. And they can do so many things that you can't do. They can travel easily, they can get people, they can connect and create a mentors group there. Okay? Create a mentors group there and then it will work.
Sir, I think the same model, it's a very, very world level global vision that you're giving us. That's the same model. We have condensed it and put it in IAV. In fact, Hiranmai is from the private sector and we both worked very closely in building the startup and innovation ecosystem. And sir, the interesting point is I am from Tamil Nadu. And when I came here last 10 years, I've been working here and I am truly inspired to contribute for Gujarat because it is my karma bhumi. And I am always looking at people like Hiranmai, and today you have introduced Kshitij and all. We will certainly pick a lot of ideas and get it implemented and focus on results. And we all believe that startup and innovation is the driver for the future and for change. So with these things, you have given me a lot of things to ponder upon. So I would like to request Hiranmai to have his further doubts cleared with you, sir.
Nagarajan, but let me give you one statement. You must do 100x by 2026. 100x of what you're doing. Okay, very simple. 100x. All right.
Yes.
What, Kshitij?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Nagarajan, I want to actually, just share a couple of experiences on what you said about alumni network. I'll tell you, within our university ecosystems, I am an alumnus of MS University. Our university relationships are very undervalued, right? Mr. Pai, I don't know if I've had a chance to tell you this as well. The first venture capitalist that I officially met, right, was the family member of my mentor at San Jose State, where I did my master's from. Right, Yatin Mukundar, he is the partner at Artiman Capital. Artiman is a very big investor in Silicon Valley and in India as well, right? So got inspired from there. He is also an MSU alum. He's an MSU alum.
Oh my God, see?
His partner Amit Shah is also an MSU alum, right, at our Artiman. So there is a very close group of network. Mr. Pai, one of the first meetings I attended with you for another fund, Arohi Capital, our friends in Singapore, friends and partners in Singapore. So they are both, the board members and the chief investment officer at Arohi Capital are all MSU alumni.
Oh my God. See?
Right.
And you must connect them.
The university network doesn't even know this, sir.
Yeah. The problem is, the universities are not leveraging their alumni.
Yeah.
Because alumni are a rich source of money, network, everything else. See, remember, for every alumni, the university or college is very important because lifelong, their brand equity depends on how the university or college is doing. Because they will always say, I came from this university. If the university goes down, they are hurt. Nothing can be done. Yeah. So they want to give back. So they are always interested. So you must leverage them, give them some status, give them, talk to them nicely. They'll do whatever they can. Yes, Hiranmai.
Wonderful, sir. In fact, sir, I am just looking at questions that I saw from thousands of students who are listening to you. One student say, I'm a big fan of Mr. Pai for his work on Akshay Patra. And I believe social entrepreneurship also is a vehicle for inclusive growth in this country. What is your take on social entrepreneurship, sir?
See, I think social entrepreneurship is extremely important because many people are motivated by social impact. Okay. People say, look, I want to impact society. I want to make sure this happens. And I want to do good. While doing good, getting money is difficult. So they want to run a business where the impact is more important than making money. They should also make money to be viable. And that makes them feel more happy and they work harder. So there's a motivation. So they're all doing that. So I think it's very important. So for that, there's a special class of investors called impact investors. For example, Vineet Rai. Vineet Rai of Avishkar runs the largest impact fund in India, near $1 billion. You must call Vineet and ask him to talk and ask him to work. And then get Vineet Rai, connect Vineet to Amul. Because Amul is the largest social enterprise there in Gujarat. And ask both of them to come out with a special program for social enterprises everywhere. Second, we are working with the government of Karnataka. I made a presentation, Chief Secretary, right today to say that they must invest money in agri-techs. Okay, why agri-techs? Because how do farmers get the market price? Today, farmers get the market price, a near market price only for cereals like rice, wheat, and maybe pulses, right? For others like milk, you get it because of Amul. But for animal husbandry products, fishery products, and fruits and vegetables, you don't get the price. So we told them, invest in agri-techs. Agri-tech will connect farmers to markets. For example, the agri-tech in Bangalore called Daily Ninja. Daily Ninja sells 1,500 tons of fruits and vegetables every day. Farmers get the money the next day. They taught the farmers to grade, to sort. They get the supply chain, get everything else. So farmers are getting maybe 20-30% more money than they're getting earlier selling to the mandis. Now, how did it happen? Because they're connecting directly to this one. What do you call it? The market. So I think you got to get this, special kind of institutions to come and make sure economic people see the benefit, and that can be done through social venture capital, the impact investors. So get the kind of people there and talk to them.
Wonderful. I think that's a wonderful roadmap, sir. And you have demonstrated Akshay Patra is a very beautiful example how impact.
Yeah, we are in Gujarat. In fact, you'll be surprised. Prime Minister Modi called us to Gujarat. He
Yes,
called
sir,
us
yes.
there. He said, "Bhaiya, idhar aa jao karo." Yes, we told him, yes, sir. We set up some 4 kitchens. He said, "I want to do more." He called the public sector of Gujarat and said, "Isko paisa do." Make sure we got the money. He came, inaugurated. Today, we're feeding 3 lakh or 4 lakh children. We're doing
Yes,
it
sir.
every day. So it's working
Yes.
very well because of Prime Minister Modi. See, one man can do so much by just picking up the phone, calling and saying, "Idhar aa jao." Of course, when Modi calls, you have to go. We all went. Then he told us, "Kab karoge bolo? Kya chahiye bolo?" Sab denge, and you have no excuse but to do it. You must do like that. Call the people,
Yes,
idhar
sir.
karo, kya hona bolo, give it to them.
Yes, sir. 3 years back, when I was in Surat, sir, as Deputy Municipal Commissioner and CEO of Surat Smart City, I had the privilege of setting up the kitchen there for the Surat city for Akshay Patra and rolled out the program, and it has been successfully running. And it's a very, very, very impactful and powerful model that, there is no parallel to that so far.
Yeah.
Sir, on this thing, when we are there, when we are doing, sir, grant-based funding, so far we have funded more than 2,500 ideas, and they are in the POC stage or MVP stage. And the best thing about it is normally when the student is getting exposed to startup, he is already a graduate and there is no ecosystem to support. Here at 17 years, when he is in first year of college, he is already exposed to these ideas and he gets the 3 years of runway time to actually mature himself without, getting too much hurt by the system. He gets a sort of safety net and a sandbox for his life. So that is what is student startup and innovation policy enables. But sir, when they do the product and they come up with an idea and it's ready to be presented and go to market or look at the investors, as an investor, what is the things that you would be looking at? I think that should provide a clear vision of what as an entrepreneur they should target if they are having venture capital funding in their mind for the startup.
Okay, that's a good question. Let me answer that. When somebody comes to us to pitch for a particular idea, we look at the quality of the pitch. Are they clear in their mind about the idea, what they want to do? Okay, but the clarity of the idea and what it is, we do. Then we look at the impact of that idea. Then we look at the team. Do they have the team to execute? Then we look, do they have the passion and energy to do that? And then we say, okay, this idea will work. Have you done the technology? Do you have a POC? Have you done all that? And I'm sure if they've done all that, then we take a risk. Because the most important thing is the team. And for everybody, we tell them you must have, one person is very difficult. You must have at least 2 or 3 people. For every startup, you must have a visionary. You must have a hacker who is a techie. You must have a hustler who is a marketing fellow.
Yes.
Because marketing is the most important thing. You must get revenue. Then you need technology. So you need a hacker. And then you need a visionary who will make sure everybody is together. And then they'll do. Now, Kshitij, you have sat in innumerable pitches. What is the criteria you apply, Kshitij? Because, you are much younger than me. You have seen more of them than I do.
No, sir, absolutely. So I think your formula for the right constitution on the team is point on, sir. Those 3 characteristics in individuals are extremely needed. One individual might have more than one characteristic, and that makes up for a good team. I think what they also need to realize is the level of polish that needs to be there, right, is far greater demanded in the market than they expect. And especially the exposure of that kind of polish presentation in while they are in the academic ecosystem, right, is also very important, right? If I may say so, without any offense to anybody, the academic system is very coddling, right? You give them grant money, you give them milestones, they come back and present to you and you grade them, but they're still looking to you as somebody who approves that idea, right? The market works in the opposite way. The market, you cannot seek so much validation from the market. You have to provide the value to the market. So being a marketer means going to the market and selling the idea no matter what the market feedback is, and take critical feedback from the market also very, very constructively, right? One of the things that we have seen in grant-based funds is we ask, how can you give us business projections for 2 years, 3 years, 18 months, right? We are not asking for 5-year, 10-year business projection, but exposure to building really good business projections, managing the expenses of a company, right, is also a fundamental skill to have. And sometimes, it's a valid reason that you are coming from academia or you're coming from biology, you don't know accounts. But at the end of the day, the reality that everybody has to learn is, if you want to be a founder, if you want to be a CEO, you have to solve all problems yourself. There is no other way out, right? So you take help from friends, you take help from family, you hire services of experts, bridge that gap and go to a investor to impress them, right? Not to ask them for funding as if they're helping them, to impress them. It is very important to keep in mind while pitching the investors that you are there to make them more money. You are there to make them more money, right? And they're not doing any social service to them, right? So in that sense, it is very important to have that communicated throughout all your marketing collateral, your pitch deck, the idea presentation that you have, the business plan you have. These are some very crucial things.
Wonderful. In fact, this is a key attribute, Kshitij, that you mentioned, both from market side and both from the doer side. And this is something that will be quite interesting. We are just in the paucity of time. We are trying to close the session, but Mohan, you will be amazed to see the kind of responses. I was just scanning through the Facebook and Zoom questions and all. You made the day for many people today, thousands of people, and the ideas and the vision. One important thing that you have instilled in this dialogue for an hour is not to think about 2% or 10%, but to think about 2x and 10x and 100x. So how do you move from percentage growth to X growth is something that probably each of us can really look at. And I can summarize the entire feedback in one feedback of a student who is attending in the session. He says, I have heard about you, Mohan, but your name Mohan itself get validates. आपने मोह लिया है, आपने सबको मोह लिया है, तो कहीं ना कहीं आपकी नाम का यथार्थ रूप जो है उन्होंने आपको देखा. So I think that feedback of the student signifies the value that your words, your time matters to us, and all the ideas that we talked about in the last 1 hour, both long-term roadmap, medium-term roadmap, short-term roadmap, taking stakeholders together, putting bureaucracy in process, taking help of public policy makers and evangelists like you all who have demonstrated practice of you don't have more complex words to say than the student summarized wonderfully that he says Mohan ka matlab samajh mein aa gaya mujhe. So I think you really made a wonderful conversation, and all of us really enjoyed talking to you. We learned a lot. And one of the assurance that we give on behalf of Government of Gujarat, Department of Education and the Innovation Hub is we will have a very actionable roadmap to translate the ideas that we said. We just don't want to make it a katha, but we will convert that katha into actionable roadmap. We will come back to you very soon, how we acted upon that, how we moved from 500 business plan to 50,000 business plan, how we moved from 5 Fab Labs to 100 Fab Labs, how we moved from 100 startups to 100 unicorns. That roadmap is something that's left out to us. And certainly, thank you so much for joining us today and inspiring all of us. Thank you, Kshitij, for facilitating and making this happen. Thank you, Nagarjan sir and Anju madam for joining despite going on in the secretariat. And thank you so much, Mohan, for accepting my request to join us today and sharing our ideas. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much and best wishes.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Shirish, for joining us.
Thank you.